Welcome back to the Embody podcast. This is an Alive Now episode, which is me talking about what's alive for me right now. And it may connect with what you're experiencing, it may not. And I felt compelled to share what I'm experiencing right now. So I've been here self-quarantining in near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And it's been gorgeous. The ocean is here and I feel safe. I've been alone and it's been quite a while and I've done quite well considering it's been since March 9th. It's been 2 months solid of self-quarantine. And I know so many of you out there are in the same boat and it's not easy. There are ups and downs, there are roller coasters of emotions. Recently, I felt like my body was ripped in pieces, in half and then in pieces by an earthquake on the inside. And these are just big, big feelings. So if you're out there and you're feeling whatever you're feeling, just know you are so not alone, even if you feel that way. And I'm going through that too. And I see you, I feel you out there. I know so many of you are experiencing some big stuff. Most of the time when I do Alive Now episodes, it's pretty present. And a lot has happened since I did the last Alive Now episode. Big stuff. So I just haven't been able to really be with it and share it. But today I felt compelled. What I've been going through is realizing, like in my being, in my emotions, in my energy, that I am very deeply a multidimensional being and galactic being. That I have felt at times that I don't belong here on this planet. And I know that I have meant it figuratively. And little did I realize that it was literal for me. It feels literal. And I think so many years of conditioning, so many maybe lifetimes of conditioning, that I needed solid evidence and proof, concrete proof that others could see and confirm, and perhaps needing validation of others for my experience to exist or be okay, that I naturally would push away these little pieces of me that said, yeah, you're from another planet or you're from another star system. And I even talked about it on the podcast, which is funny because while I was going through this recently, in this last couple of weeks, it almost felt new. And it is to some degree because it's a new piece of it. And it's so different when you mentally conceive of something versus when you feel it and you connect with it in your bones, in your body, in your emotions. And I remember talking about it on the podcast. It was in the Deep Mystery of Life series, Alive Now episodes. I'll link those in the show notes. But I think I talked about it there, or maybe I talked about it when I talked about the Sophia Code and Dragon Tribe and Star Nation. And I remember feeling like I didn't know what that meant, but it felt important. Yeah, that was in the Deep Mystery episode. What logic cannot explain became very real to me. And here is a giant piece of that. And so Star Nation, I didn't really understand, but I did. I did on some level, like being from another star system. And I've heard and understand and accept that other people are also, most people are connected to various star systems and lifetimes and astral planes and dimensions of this existence and things that I don't really fully always understand conceptually. And I don't do the research on that stuff. You or someone might be listening to this thinking, yeah, I know exactly what she's talking about, the 5D, X, Y, and Z, and describe it in detail. I just go by my experience with this stuff. And I think it's really important for me to do that in this life, to trust that. And so I had that knowing, I don't know, was that like 6 months ago or 8 months ago? Like, you are of Star Nation. And that felt like, whoa, that is me. And then a couple of months ago, before I left for Mexico, I had another very strong multidimensional experience, connecting and acknowledging those parts of me and the energies in me that can travel to other dimensions, and also bring that energy to the body in this existence. And I remember asking, so if I'm from Star Nation, if I'm from another star system or planet, where am I from? And I really know very little about astronomy and astrology and the stars and galaxies. So I got an answer, and it was Orion. And then I dismissed it. Sort of. I was like, oh, okay, Orion. Just like didn't give it much importance. Well, the last 2 weeks, it has demanded its importance. And it started with a feeling of existential loneliness. And so I began to feel incredibly lonely, like I am from another planet. I don't belong here. Why am I here? And I had a knowing too that I chose to be here. So that was painful. And so here's this feeling like I ended up in somewhere in this universe or other universe from where I belong, and I don't know where I'm from. And I feel this horrible pain that I am away from and left my star family or my spiritual family or whoever it is. And I'm not with my people or my resonance. And various people tried to comfort me, which was really sweet. And it just didn't do the job. It was like, I still need to know what this is about. So finally, in a healing session, I sat with it, and it revealed to me this man, a lover, like a male figure from another galaxy or place in space, showed up and was like, yeah, you did leave us, and we're here. You left us, and yet we're with you if you want us to be. And I just thought it was a little bit strange, but some things were happening in my body, wasn't totally registering. And I said, well, are there more of you? And he said, yeah, your whole family's here. And that felt somewhat comforting. And it really hit like the days after that. Suddenly I felt ginormous grief. And it hit me that I had not digested that grief. Like I had left so happily to come here or something. And who knows when that is in the timeline, or if it's happening at the same time as now. I don't know. But I needed to digest that grief. So I realized it was really blocking me, this idea that I would be weird or crazy in others' eyes, and that I needed to, one, have others' validation, but also I was judging myself and blocking information and intuition and knowing because I couldn't explain it or I couldn't prove it. So as I released that need and felt more into the unknown space and validating myself, just surrendering to what it is and trusting that it's being revealed to me for important reasons, or it is for me to look at. And as I did that, I was not only no longer alienating myself from inside myself, but I felt a strong connection to those images of this man or male figure and the star family. And as I digested that and had some support with it, and also did do a little research on starseed, people who feel they are starseed, I found some validation in myself and was able to accept it. It's so different when, you accept others can be a certain way. And then when you encounter it in yourself, you really get to see if there's anything blocking you from loving yourself. Even if you can love others, when it happens to you, when it is you. And I do believe that most of us are multidimensional beings that have traveled many existences and planes of being, and the density of our human form and energies that we carry with that can block us from feeling that connection or remembering. And when I say block, I also feel it's more like we're in a certain place for a certain reason with our consciousness and our awareness. And when things are ready to open up, they will, and they will show you what needs to be looked at. And if you just take it a step at a time, following the trail of what feels right to you, things continue to reveal and open. And there's nothing wrong with being in this density of human experience. We can also feel a human experience with light energy and that connection to source and all energies that can support us. And this last couple of weeks has been a big opening for me of really embodying that, feeling that in my resonance now, that that's a part of me. And it's not really special either. As I said, I think many people experience this and know this about themselves. It's like we have so many different connections in different realms. And really, for me, it has been about that loving myself on the journey and trusting and surrendering to things I do not know and cannot explain. And I feel more of myself. I feel freer. I feel more at ease. And I feel more like a true in my bones knowing of the multidimensionality and different star families. So I connect with Orion. I also connect with Arcturian and Andromedan. I'm sure I connect with many others. And I don't know what it all means. And I don't feel like it's important for me to know mentally, but only through, not only, but mostly through my experience and my connection with what messages I'm receiving and what I need to know. So sharing this out loud is really interesting. It's been challenging to figure out how to share it exactly, but here it is. And it's not totally organized, but nothing, doesn't have to be. And if you're listening to this and you're wondering, gosh, am I a galactic being, or am I from Star Nation or from other dimensions and realities or places and planets? Maybe you are. Some people on YouTube talk about this, like having different dreams or being really connected in dream life or having sleep paralysis because of astral traveling or connecting in different dimensions. I have experienced all of that. It's not scary for me. It feels kind of good. But I just get these pieces of information and knowing, and it's like things are knocking on my door that want to be acknowledged and seen, just so the flow of my being can be fuller and more easy and open, so I can have resource from those energies. And I know those energies are not all supportive for me or for me to use for the purposes of what I'm here for and my experience here. And I also just see it as a resource and not something I'm like idealizing or anything. But being in this human body is a really special thing. And I also feel now a stronger, wider connection with other beings and energies and parts of my being that are beyond human or not human. And to bring those knowings into this body and anchoring them into a human experience is really something special. And yet it's also not, it's also just part of things. And I think just me realizing it in this embodied way feels special because it's the next step of my path and journey. And yet I have the knowing that we are all one. This doesn't make me special and different. It is part of the whole of things. And the experiences in the galactic world and realm, the patterns and the ways of being, they all reflect themselves here in my human life. So after I felt this giant grief and acknowledged it, it was such a relief. And I felt so much more easeful in my being. I felt more present here. And then I had a huge dose of loneliness in this experience now of the pandemic and being out here. I haven't had a hug since middle of February. Well, no, I've had a hug since March 9th, but I haven't had other touch since the middle of February. That felt really good. So these are things I know I need and enjoy, and it's a painful experience to be so separate in ways, and it's also freeing and strengthening to have the capacity to move through it. And I've had support, so I'm not doing it alone either, except for in the physical form. So that's my galactic trauma, so to say, or star system trauma. But I feel more connected now and open to what this might mean for me and why I need to experience it. But I feel already the fruits of that, the relevance of it for this life, is that I'm much more open to information that doesn't have a concrete manifestation or doesn't have proof. And that if it feels right to me, I can trust that. And I encourage you that if you're listening to this, there must be a reason for it. And there may be a nugget for you or something here for you if you've made it this far in my sharing. And maybe it's not all for you. But I'm just tuning into this energy and wondering, just throwing out questions here for you if you're listening. Are there things that you have dismissed or just quietly tucked away or think are nothing and that keep coming back? It will keep coming back, so don't worry. But what are those things? And are they important? Do they demand your attention? Do they demand your love? And that may be just feelings and emotions. And it may be other knowings or intuitive hits you get, words and information you get that from the mind that says, I need to know exactly what that means and have proof and have others validate that reality, that part of you may shut it out. And is there also a knowing for you of your connection to mystical or celestial or galactic or multidimensional spaces and beings? And is it important for you? So, thanks for listening. This is all for today. I feel much more grounded here on Earth now, and I feel like the energy that I can be supported with from the star system of Orion and other star systems that can that has a receptor in me now. And whatever I need to know from those spaces can arrive. It has a place. And I feel much more like I know another part of my belonging. I certainly belong here on earth, and I have a family I belong with. I feel that belonging. I feel community with people here. I feel like I belong to earth. I also feel like I belong to other places. And now it's just expanded. I have more of my belonging. And so my message to you is all of you belongs. All of you belongs, even if it's weird, even if it's confusing, unclear, uncertain, exiled. All of you belongs. And what would life be like for you if you took the next step of embracing yourself? And as I say that, I have this sense of self, like the greater consciousness that exists through this body, which is connected with so many energies and all possibility that we cannot comprehend. What would happen if you allowed things you cannot comprehend to exist and come through you or be known by you, recognized? So I'm sending a big, big, big virtual hug to all of you out there. Thank you so much for listening. It is truly wonderful to know you're out there. I still receive messages from many of you, and it's lovely to hear from you from time to time or whenever you feel inspired. If you want to support the podcast, I would love and greatly appreciate it with a donation or a review or testimonial of the podcast. You can send that to me at embody@candice.com, and you can send your support through my website at candice.com/support. And you can see some of the options there. You can give a straight donation or check out some of the gifts and offerings that support the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care. I hope you're okay out there. See you next time on the Embody podcast.